Hey everyone, welcome back to the hands-on ethical hacking course. Just to remind you, this is your instructor Akshay. So let's start with our section. Today's section would be about installing and configuring your virtual lab. So yeah, today's section is setting up your lab. Let's go on. So what we're going to do basically in this section is we are going to use the concept of virtualization. So what is virtualization, you ask? Well, if you read the definition online, or the way I'd like to describe in big words, is virtualization is the process of running a virtual computer system in a layer abstracted from the actual hardware. So basically, what I mean by that is you are going to run an operating system inside your existing operating system. As you may realize, Linux is a different operating system than Windows, and to run it on your computer, you either have to remove your host operating system or Windows from it, or you have to boot it by dual booting. By dual booting, you lose the ability to use Windows, at a time. So the concept of virtualization gives us the ability to use Linux inside of Windows without going through any hassle of installing or reconfiguring it or messing with our hardware. So if you're still confused how a virtual machine works, I have a simple graph here to explain it briefly how it works, because the whole explanation is not the concept of this course, but we can still go through this to understand how it works. So at the bottom of the layer, we have our host OS, which is most probably Windows, and the real hardware, which could be your desktop or laptop. So basically, you have your Windows installed on your desktop or laptop. On top of that, we have the virtualization software, which is also called the hypervisor application. Hypervisor is just another name for the concept of running an operating system inside an operating system. So what this software will do is it will emulate hardware. What do you mean by emulate? Well, basically, it will emulate itself to the guest operating system that it has hardware. So as you may realize, to install an operating system, you need a CPU, you need a GPU, you need a display, you need a keyboard, monitor, storage. So where will all of that come? Well, the thing is, we are not going to use our real, the real components of our desktop or laptop. What we are going to do is we are going to use the virtualization software, which will emulate all of that for us. So what it will basically do is it will create digital copies or digital clones of a hard disk or a RAM or a computer or a CPU, so that the guest operating system sees it as real hardware and we can install it. So the guest operating system we are going to be using today is Kali Linux, or basically Debian Linux, the flavor of Kali. So yeah, why virtualization? Well, you may ask, because if you wanted to get the full experience, I could have just asked you to remove your Windows installation and install Linux, or maybe dual boot if you know about that. But the benefit of virtualizations are very simple, straightforward, and very easy. First is it's way, way, way simpler and easier to set up than installing the operating system over again and removing your current operating system. The recovery is also very easy moving forward with that, because if you mess up something, you can just reinstall it again without affecting your real hardware, real operating system. All right. It won't mess up your C files or your documents. It will just mess up it in its own sandbox state, and we can reinstall it. To prevent that recovery, to adding on to that recovery feature we also have the option of save states. So what do I mean by save states? When save states is the concept of taking a snapshot of the operating system in its current form. So basically what we'll go do is we'll set up a Linux operating system and then we'll take a snapshot of it. Now we can use it as normal. So let's assume moving forward, I break something inside the operating system and I make it unusable. Well, instead of reinstalling it over again, I can just roll back to that save state or use that snapshot to resume where I saved, where I left off. By this, we can do all the experimentation we need without having the worry of reinstalling or losing our files. That is one of the greatest benefits of virtualization that it provides us. Then moving on from that, we also have multitasking. Well, multitasking is what exactly but you get by the name. It allows us to use both operating systems at the same time. So at one moment, I could be playing my games on my Windows laptop, and the other moment, I could just alt-tab out of it and switch to my Kali Linux operating system to hack something. It makes things easier, faster, and better for us. Then, by multitasking forward, we have portable. So what do I mean by portable? Well, portable is very simple in the name, as you understand. So imagine I had my Linux setup and you wanted the same Linux setup as well. You looked at it and you said, oh, wow, man, you have all the tools configured and all the wallpaper set and all the directories and whatnot. Or if I wanted to, let's assume if this class was conducted in a real life. So I wanted you all to use the same Linux operating system as I had on my system. So instead of telling you all to download and install and everything and get to the step, follow the steps I did, I would just share my with the portable virtual file. It's called an OVA file. We are going to be utilizing it later in the course. So what I would do is I would just share the OVA file with all of you, and you could just open it in your VirtualBox. You could import it. It would basically be simple as opening a Word document. You could just click File, Import, and click on that file. And in a couple of minutes, you would have the same operating system as I have on my system without going through any real configuration or settings. So that is another great benefit of virtualization. After that, we have sandboxing. So while in this course, we are going to be doing ethical hacking. Well, as you go on into the field of security, you realize that you cannot just run any application on your host operating system. So imagine if you have got a shady file from the internet, which you are not sure about, you can always boot up a virtual operating system inside your current operating system and try to run that inside the virtual operating system. If it would have had a virus, it would have affected your virtual machine. So you could have just reset it and saved your host operating.